Okay, picking up where we left off, we are covering The Bear by William Faulkner, and we're doing this in the context of just the bear, not Go Down Moses as a whole. If you are picking up here, you're at the wrong spot. You should be starting on our part 1 video. I'll put a link just to make sure you're starting at the same spot. But in this video, we're going to cover parts 3, 5, our ratings, and wrap up.
Yeah, exciting stuff here at the end. I am your lioness, Crypto.
And I am your hunter, Una. I didn't think ahead. Oh. Okay, so chapter 3. It was December. It was the coldest December he had ever remembered. Any thoughts on this so far?
I hate cold.
What does winter typically represent in literature?
Death.
Think about that. Yeah?
Yeah. Usually, because spring is life and rebirth, and this is the ending or the closure.
Right, and you can break this rule. You can think of it a lot of different ways, but he starts out with, it was December. It was the coldest December he had ever remembered. So just take that in your mind as you're reading this, right? Like, this is probably not going to be a very fun, happy chapter because it's not spring. But it's also worth noting that I think it's really interesting that a lot of times winter and cold is a great time to isolate characters together. It's a great time to bring characters together to nuance out their relationship, like one-on-one, as opposed to that character with a group.
Yeah, it seems to be almost like cliche in a lot of movies and horror movies and stuff nowadays. But I like how Faulkner has used it in a subtle way. He doesn't hit you over the head with it like a lot of the tropes nowadays.
It kind of reminds me of Hateful Eight, if you've seen that from Tarantino.
That's literally what I was thinking about in my head. That's funny.
Yeah, it's like the picturesque example of, oh, it's winter, it's really cold. Let's jam everyone into the cabin, and then they go through these little character moments where each character kind of interacts with each other on a one-on-one basis. So here, we get a little bit of a backstory on Boone's heritage, which you and I know already, because we love Boone. Boone's our boy, right?
Oh, our Boone dog. Our Boone boy. So we know that Boone is of multiple races, and this is where we see them get into a little bit of my favorite drink, the whiskey. And here they drink, and as a result, depending on how much he has had, he'll claim one side or the other.
Yeah. We definitely we got it explored earlier, compared against Sam, where he was the plebeian and Sam was the prince, and in here it's explored a little bit more. I love that there's repetition even from an intertextual standpoint. When you and I did the Reavers earlier, a lot of these same lines were brought up in the Reavers, and if you remember, part of what got him into that issue in the Reavers was he sent, I think, Ludus. He gave Ludus money to go buy, I think it was it moonshine? It was whiskey, I think it was, in that story as well. So, wow, just Faulkner doing a brilliant job of bringing these characters in a shared universe together. I love it. So the hunting party's low on whiskey. So they're like, okay, we're going to send the young boy Ike and the alcoholic Boone to go get us some whiskey.
This is going to end great.
I love it. But this really fleshes out, for those that haven't read, and it hadn't been written yet at this point in time, but for those that haven't read the Reavers yet, or at the point in time when it released and Reavers it didn't exist, what a great character moment in the winter to bring together Ike and Boone and to talk about these characters. Because at this point, Boone's a buffoon, and we know he's a bad shot. Here's where we get to learn a little bit more about his heritage that enriches some of the comparisons with Sam Fathers.
Yeah, I think you see a connection between that and this really. I think it's important to know this about Boone because of what happens later in the story. Because you could view him as the bad guy, right? This is human.
I guess some people could.
I think this is humanizing him. That's how I felt.
Okay, that's a good point. This does matter for what happens later. I think that's an excellent point. I hadn't thought about it from that angle. We have a quick throwaway line here that's not throwaway, but they say, they let Tenny's Jim wash the dishes. The boy knew why. aka racism, right? Because Tenny's gym is black.
Yeah, as we pointed out in our other video, these people are throwaways, and I don't mean that in a harsh way, but that's how Faulkner's using them, because that's how it really was in the time period.
Well, he's using them as they haven't escaped the shackles of their class, I think is a good way to phrase
or their
it,
fathers.
Right? Yes.
As heritage is such a huge theme of this, is they're still trapped by their fathers or grandfathers being slaves, or trapped by Southern views too.
So our other minority character, Uncle Ash, drives Boone and Ike to the train station where they talk further about Lion being the one to bring Old Ben down. This is from a high fantasy standpoint. This is the prophecy. This is the sword that's going to defeat the dragon, right? Lion's going to be the one that's going to defeat Old Ben, is what they keep talking about here. So in old fantasy, of course, you'd have to spread word throughout the land too, that this is our hero that's going to take down the dragon that's terrorized our town. We're sending the boy and Boone to Memphis for whiskey, but you'll notice that all they do is they go through this town and they talk about how Lion's going to be the one to bring him down. And that's when you see in the next part, people come out on the final day. They mentioned that earlier, but you see more and more people come out than usual, because I think they're all coming to witness, will Excalibur defeat the dragon, is really what this is bringing up, right?
Yeah, I guess too, I think that if you were doing it a fantasy trope or superhero trope, or I don't know, I kind of think maybe if this was Rocky, this is the training montage, right?
And it's hilarious the way that Boone keeps getting away to drink, like on the train. His classic. I love it.
Yeah. Do you think that Boone was his favorite character to write? I know that has nothing to do with the story, but I feel like it is.
No, I think his favorite character to write in Go Down Moses, so we got to step out of this. I think it was, I'm going to say Lucas Beauchamp. And I think in The Reavers, I think it was Ned McCaslin. I think he likes writing the underdog, oppressed character, outwitting his captors, if you will. I think that's his favorite.
I don't know. He likes Boone because that's the good-hearted, that's a little bit slow, triumphing, just because he's got pure heart.
I love him. Yeah. He's amazing.
Yeah. No, I don't know. Okay, interesting. Anyway.
No, I could see that. I could see that. All right, so one morning they return with what's left of the whiskey, at least. And a lot of people have come to see this Old Ben hunt, right? The lion, the Excalibur's here to defeat Old Ben. And one morning they organize the hunting party, and Ike is told to ride the one-eyed mule. Why?
Because it's without fear.
It's without fear. And what happens at this point is he's entered expert hunter level. So when you reach expert hunter level, you're given the best stuff, the prime positions to go after your quarry at this point in time, right?
Yeah, so he's set up to be the hero.
And to kind of finalize that, when they're hunting, who misses the shot?
Boone.
Well, of course Boone missed, but who else missed?
Oh, okay. I was like, I could have swore Boone missed.
Well, Boone always misses. Before that, though, when they're still in the chase, who missed before Boone gets sight of him?
So Walter.
And Walter is the crack shot guy that never misses. Now he misses. We realize we need the new hero. We need someone to take up the stand.
Yeah, pass the mantle on.
For those that read Chapter 4 who are reading this in the grander scheme of Go Down Moses, we have a little bit more context that Ike is afraid of continuing the sins of the South. Let me back up 1 second, if you'll allow me, to read one quote from Chapter 4.
Oh, are you sure we're up for it? It's dangerous.
Yeah, we're kind of skipping ahead a little. But this is I think the most important quote of the book.
Okay. I think Faulkner's going to get mad at you, but I won't tell him.
Faulkner mad at me for time jumping? All right, here's the quote. "Don't you see," he cried, "don't you see? The whole land, the whole South is cursed, and all of us who derive from it, whomever suckled, white and black both, lie under the curse. Granted that my people brought the curse onto the land. Maybe for that reason their descendants alone cannot resist it, not combat it. Maybe just endure and outlast it until the curse is lifted. So
I definitely could see,
Ike
though,
is
real quick, I think I can see how you were saying that could change the theme of the book to be not about this boy growing up, but more about heritage of Native American or black or white, in the more about land and ownership, and it gets a little bit different feel to it. If that's the quote of the book, that definitely changes things.
It completely changes how you view this chapter. But we're doing this breakdown as just a bear alone for the most part.
Yeah.
But going into this final scene, we know that Ike is kind of still learning. Like, he's not the man. Sam Fathers, like, when they saw the colt that was murdered earlier, he knew old Ben done it, but he doesn't tell an old Ben because nobody, those two at least, the hunters, the priests of the forest, don't want old Ben to die because he's the last of the line. He's the last of the wilderness, right?
Yeah, once after that it's been conquered, it's over. There's nothing left.
So we have a good quote on courage. It was the young hound, which even a year ago had no judgment, and which, by the lights of the other hounds anyway, still had none. Maybe that's what courage is, he thought. Going in with the hopes of not dying, right? All right, so at this point in the story, Lion jumps at old Ben and is caught in a loving embrace by old Ben, which is, I think, just beautifully.
I thought that was funny.
The story is incredible. It's beautiful and it's funny.
Yeah.
It's dark.
It's dark humor, definitely.
And depending on the context that you come into this.
Well, I mean, if you were shooting this as a movie, I mean, this is the main scene of the whole movie, right? Like, this would have to be perfect, and that would be slow-mo with some, orchestra music behind it, and you see them coming together, and it's almost like a lover's embrace as they're going to hit one another and go into this, fight / almost dance together. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Wholeheartedly agree. And what's interesting is they cross the river. They go through, willingly and knowingly kind of go through this baptism of the river.
Yep.
And when they cross, that's when Boone kind of jumps at old Ben with the knife.
Yeah.
Right? Boone, and I think maybe some people have issues with this just because of, well, why would Boone jump at him with the knife? Well, one, Boone can't hit anything with a gun.
Yeah.
And two, Boone is so childlike. So
he doesn't want to hit the dog.
He's so impetuous too. And he's big. He's like 6'4", right?
Yeah.
If anyone's going to be the one to jump on old Ben, it's gonna be him, and it ain't gonna be the priests of the forest, because Sam and Ike don't really want to take down old Ben.
Yeah. Well, Boone's an emotional character, and he leads with his heart, and he sees the dog, and he sees the fight, and he just acts on instinct, and his instinct is to get in there and brawl, like a bear. And so he grabs his knife and just goes in for it. So I think that people have issue with that they don't understand Boone as a character at all, because that is his nature.
Now the bear, there's a quote. Then the bear surged erect, faced with it the man and the dog too, and turned, and still carrying the man and the dog, it took 2 or 3 steps towards the woods on its hind feet, as a man would have walked, and crashed down. It didn't collapse, crumple. It fell, all of a piece, as a tree falls, so that all 3 of them, man, dog, and bear, seemed to bounce more once. So here we have, going through the baptism scene of walking through the river, we have some more religious symbology here with the tree falling. We have some symbology with 2 to 3 steps. We have the 3 of them falling down together for what's ultimately a death of wilderness and birth / giving way to modernization at this point in time is kind of where we go with the story.
Yeah. You're going to have to edit out my tear there. Sorry. That's a very emotional part of the story. I mean, it's so sad. Like,
Well,
I mean, he's Boone, he's our guy, but it's like, I kind of wanted the bear to win.
that's the left punch.
Yeah.
Then I don't know how you felt, but the right punch comes where they turn around and Sam Fathers has collapsed.
Yeah. Well,
right. Well, okay. It's important to notice when they kill the bear, when they kill the wilderness, it kills Sam too.
okay, I guess
It's not a coincidence that they both collapse at the same time. And they say the bear. They said the bear, as a man would have walked and crashed down. So they're comparing the bear to man falling at this point down. So they're comparing man and wilderness, and Sam's the one that represents man and wilderness, right?
So it's two sides to one coin here. Okay, that makes more sense now. Yeah. I guess I just wasn't as connected to Sam, so I was kind of like, he died. But that makes a lot more sense.
They're killing wilderness, they're killing Sam.
Yeah.
Is what I think Faulkner was going for here. And Boone carries Lion back into the wilderness later on at sundown, where he kind of, the doctor comes and visits and says, Sam just gave up, yada, yada, yada. So they're going out to bury him, and General Compson, this is the quote, spoke as he would have spoken over a man. So here is where General Compson is even speaking of Lion as a man, and Lion is the one that also represents wilderness that crossed over into man's territory to be used as a weapon, in the same way that Sam was man who crossed over into wilderness to be the priest of the forest and kind of teach people the ways of the forest to live with it. And it was when we killed Old Ben, the one in between the wilderness, that the bridges collapsed. So you have brilliant symbology here of the points of these characters just being brought out at this time. Unbelievable.
And I think you could miss some of this if you didn't get a few of the pieces earlier that were so subtle. I mean, some of it Faulkner will hit you on the head with, but this at the end you can miss. So that's important to note. I mean, that's the end to your thesis, I think.
And that's part of the reading and rereadability of the story is Sam is kind of Ike's father. Because remember, Ike's father passed away at a young age, that he was kind of raised by his cousin Kaz, right? McCaslin Edmonds.
Yeah.
Sam Fathers became a fatherly figure to him at the age of 10, teaching him how to be a man, bringing him through his, isn't it the dad's job to bring you through the rite of passage to become a man?
Yeah. And
that's what Sam Fathers was, and that's him collapsing at this point in time in the story.
And then you see that now Ike struggles with my relationship with nature since his quote father passed, because he doesn't have nature anymore, right? And this is
the death of the wilderness.
Yeah. But it's the death of his father too, and he doesn't know where he fits in the world without his father in it as well. His adopted father, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I think that leads us into the final kind of chapter, right? If you skip 4.
Yes. If you skip 4 and and I would almost, even if you're reading Go Down Moses, I would almost just skip 4 and come back to it later, honestly. I don't know. 4 is nigh impenetrable for most people.
I don't think it did me a disservice. I think now that I understand the story so much more, and somebody after maybe watching our videos and reading the story a couple times could go back into 4 and get more out of it that way and be like, oh, I do see how this changes things. And that might necessarily be a bad thing.
Well, no, Faulkner even said you should skip 4 if you're reading this by itself. I completely agree, though. Having read all of Go Down Moses myself, skipping 4 is a disservice to the novel as a whole, though.
Okay.
Like, you have to read 4 at some point. It's required. It's the emotional culmination of the entire novel. Really is what it is.
Pretty important then.
Oh, and it's painful. It's painful. I can admit it. It's really difficult to get through. All right, so you skip 4, we go to 5, right? And it's worth noting, we talked earlier about Faulkner kind of growing up hunting on James Stone's land.
Yeah.
That in the 1930s, they also sold the land to a timber company. So again, very kind of semi-autobiographical how the story plays out, right? So now Ike is 18. The band has broken up. They stopped returning to hunt.
No more hunting.
And no more hunting. The hunting party no longer hunts, and Major Spain has sold a large portion of the land to a timber company, much like in real-life Faulkner's situation. Ike returns to see Major Despain, where he says, "Hey, we want to hunt again." Major Despain's like, "Yeah, I'm kind of too old, but I'm gonna send you Boone and Uncle Ash. Go do your thing, right?"
Yeah.
And I think this is where you have a lot of the commentary about perversion of land, of, should you be selling? Can you sell something that you don't even truly own that you stole in the first place? But you kind of need to read chapter 4 to get the full gravitas of that. It's also worth noting here that Isaac became what profession? A carpenter. Isaac, if he's representing the prophet, and Jesus became what? A carpenter, right?
Yep.
Who went out to live out in the wilderness, was shunned by mankind. We got a lot of similarities here with the Bible and Isaiah at this point, don't we?
I'm surprised he just didn't call him Jesus when he wanted to rename him.
Well, and if you read chapter 4 again, that's not the point of this part, but that will go further into the idea of even just the purpose of the Bible being that. I'll save that for another video. So they go into the woods with Despain's permission, right? And Uncle Ash tells him that Boone is out at the old gum tree, which I have no idea what the gum tree represents. Maybe you do. But as they travel, they spot a young bear, and Ash kind of fumbles with the gun, and he talks about wanting a woman next door. And I think this kind of shows the incompetence of Uncle Ash. I'm not really sure where they're going with this, but they are specifically calling out the sin of him coveting his neighbor's wife, right? It's not all women. He wants his neighbor's wife. And they're also kind of creating the same sin of Ike's forefathers of coveting land that they didn't actually own as well, as where I think he's going with it, but I'm not 100% sure there. But they go and visit the grave of Sam and Old Ben, where the graves are being kind of worn down. Nature's taking its course, but the tin's okay. The man-made structure is okayed. Man and technology have kind of won at this point as nature's kind of fading away. The graves being eroded, if you will, even after just 2 years. Kind of a crappy grave they put together, I guess, right? But at this point, you'll notice what was at his feet.
There's a snake there, right? I remember.
Yeah. And I think, and I think this is kind of drawing that picture of the Garden of Eden for I think that's what he's going for, where man's greed, the technology, the comfort, the desire, taking things that don't belong to him, an apple, is what cast him from the Garden of Eden. And I think Faulkner is kind of painting a similar picture here with the story of by pillaging and raping the land, you're kind of taking things that don't belong to you and you're destroying a natural order, if you will. It's kind of what I took from it. Where were you on that picture, Crypto?
Yeah, I think that was kind of I think they hit the nail on the head there. I think it's interesting that man is surviving it, though, when so many times in other stories we see how no matter what, nature will always take back over and beat us, too. So pretty weird view of Faulkner to say that man is going to beat nature and win.
It's interesting, right? And then we have this, next part where he hears the banging, right?
Yeah.
So he heads towards it, and that's where he finds Boone. And Boone's lost it.
Yeah.
Right? He's pounding his disassembled gun in a patch of squirrels, which I think Uncle Ash said anyone could hit, but of course Boone can't, right?
No.
And Boone claims the squirrels are his. What? And I think this can be contentious and very interesting. What did you take from this ending?
I kind of saw it as Boone, even in his simpleton view of life, realizes that what they have done, and he realizes the mistake that they made, and that it's an end of an era, and almost like he's like, this is mine, I want to go back to this, and he knows that he can't, and the symbol of the gun is like him trying to destroy it and go back to something before. Go back maybe to his own boyhood, because the gun representing manhood, he's like, if I can just get back to my childhood, I can go back to the way things used to be.
Yeah, no, I think that's pretty much the exact same thing that I took from it, is that his madness was born from his own decisions, in the same way that some of us can be haunted by our past decisions. We go back to the discussion about Sam Father's heritage. When we go back to, if you've read the rest of Go Down Moses, how lineage and the past can haunt us today. Here, Boone's past is haunting him. And he doesn't know what to do besides to disassemble the technology, disassemble the civilization, modernization, I should say, to try to resort back to the earlier times, where even the squirrels elude him.
Yeah, kind of a bleak ending.
Very bleak ending to a very beautiful story where he almost plays with expectations about a hero's journey.
Yeah, I was
but
yeah.
But he weaves in through the whole piece. He's letting you know that you can't just modernize the world and expect everything to be better. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just conquer nature. You can't just expect technology as everything. And you have a bit of reverence for the past, a bit, and the wilderness kind of represents the past old way of life in a way too to this.
Yeah, I like that. I really enjoy this story. I think it's good. I think that literary is unique in the feature that it's a coming of age story of a young boy into manhood. It's, a wilderness hunting kind of story, but it also has like two what is like heart-wrenching parts of the story. Like, like most stories, there's positive, negative to, challenge the hero to rise back up and stuff. There's kind of two of these in this story, right? The death of old Ben, and then the end of the story, the loss of innocence for Boone and for Ike, realizing that they can never go back to nature. So it's kind of twofold. You get like a double gut punch here of like, okay, there's one chapter left, right? We're going to get the epilogue. We're going to get the resolution here in chapter 5. Even if you skip chapter 4, there's story left. The things are going to turn around. It's going to be okay, right? They're going to go back and live in the wilderness. Everything's going to be great. And you're like, nope, Faulkner ain't giving you that happy ending. So
never.
Yeah, it is a unique story in that regard as well. So you have to be prepared for that when you read this, that you're not going to get that traditional style story of an uplifting ending after the horrific event that happens in chapter 3.
Welcome to Yakna Patafa, where no one's ever happy at the end. All right, Crypto, let's go into our ratings.
Yeah.
Hit me with yours first.
I don't know if I want to.
Okay, I'll go with mine first.
Okay.
This story it's a novella, right? And Faulkner didn't write many novellas, if you will. I don't know if I would classify this as a short story.
Yeah,
there's
it's a little off.
There's a lot of words here.
Yeah.
I didn't do a word count, but by a traditional novella standard, I believe this encroaches into that.
Yeah.
So it's in a territory of its own. There's going to be more meat to it than a short story, which are very succinct and be brilliant from all the ones that we've covered. And it's going to be more approachable, I think, from a novel standpoint, because Faulkner is so intelligent and fluid with his writing. So first of all, let's recognize that this exists in a very unique category for Faulkner. So you're rating this almost in a world of its own. But I'm going to go with, thinking about other novellas that we've read and listened to on this channel. This is up there. This is a contender for a top spot. That there's no question I could come back to this and read this. I can come back to this when we talk about after, I've read Go Down Moses, and I'll do a Go Down Moses breakdown. And I'm telling you, it completely changes even how you interpret the story as well. So to accomplish that much complexity, that much readability in a story is just mind-boggling to me, that I have to go with a 9.5. Wow. Why not a 10? Why not a 10? There are parts of this where it's also hard to rate of like, am I including part 4 or not?
Yeah.
If I'm including part 4, there are parts of part 4 that are nigh impenetrable for me. Like, they're very difficult, having read them even 4 or 5 times in a row, trying to pull out the meaning. It's hard. So it's hard to even just rate the bear as itself without that. I think there are parts that are still difficult to grasp. So maybe my part of not giving it a 10 is just my own insecurity of just like, I haven't mastered this text. Like I have to come back and redo things of this.
I will conquer you, old Ben.
I can't conquer old Ben. I can't conquer nature. So it's hard to give it a 10 because I feel like if you say something's a 10...
Maybe you need to put down your Kindle.
Yeah.
That's your technology.
So I don't know. That's what I'm going to go with is a 9.5 because I'm still reliant on technology.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to give it 2 ratings because I don't want to break your heart. I'm going to give it as a novella, short story, piece, blah, 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 whatever. I'm going to say a 7.5.
Okay.
But I think that as a coming-of-age wilderness story, hunting story, I would give it a 9. Or maybe...
Okay.
Maybe you could give it a 10. Like as you've said before, I don't know of any other coming-of-age hunting wilderness stories that are better than this. If there are, please leave in the comments below because I would love to read that. I've read of Call of the Wild or whatever, and it's a great story too. So, but I think this one's better.
Oh, you know my answer on that one.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you for joining us on this journey. We hope you enjoyed the bear as much as we did. I hope you took something from this as well as your reading of the story. We'd love to hear your thoughts down below in the comments. And please consider subscribing. We do literature breakdowns every Monday and Thursday, and we love William Faulkner, as you can probably tell. And we're going to do more works of his. I will be doing all of Go Down Moses here in the near future. So please let us know what things you thought of in the comments down below. Subscribe for more fun. Una out.
Peace.